Welcome to Adventures with Jaida, where we at Micro Society recognize youth activists who are making a big difference in the world. I am Jaida, your host. With us from Oahu, Hawaii is very accomplished 13-year-old Rylee Brooke Kamahele. Rylee has many accomplishments. As the youngest radio DJ in Hawaii, Rylee's show, Rise Up Radio, features not yet discovered talent who she interviews. In addition, she has hosted 3 television shows: Brown Bags to Stardom, a statewide talent show, a globally televised show called Hot Rock TV, and a morning talk show where she creates the content for and hosts her own segment, Remember My Name, You'll Be Seeing It. Rylee has also modeled, acted, and participated in runways and represented the state of Hawaii as Miss Hawaii Elementary America. She designs clothes and helps to take care of 18 pets, all of them rescues, and most of them are special needs. As you can tell, she is busy. In fact, you wonder when she sleeps. For us, Rylee's story begins when she was 8 years old. She had big ideas and tried to share them with her mother, but like most moms who are busy, she would dismiss Rylee's energy. That is, until Rylee demanded she'd be heard. When she really listened, Rylee's mom recognized that her daughter's ideas made sense and that when everything began to change. In 1 year, Rylee launched 2 companies for profit where she sold clothes and jewelry and many projects for no profit at all. Welcome, Rylee. Let's start with your television segment, Remember My Name, You'll Be Seeing It. Adults don't often listen to kids, so how did you go about getting your own segment on TV?
Sure. So we have a segment called Remember My Name, You'll Be Seeing It. I started that with my 3 friends, 3 including me. So it's me, Rylee Brooke Kamahele, and Asher Morgado. And we originally started off as a YouTube channel, and we were featured on Living 808. When we got interviewed, we did really, really well, and then we were offered a segment. And then from there, we decided that, hey, we want to come and we want to expose more kids so they can get a kickstart or just further in the industry.
Thank you. So you pitched it to the TV station. How did you figure out how to pitch it and what exactly did you do?
Okay, so I had a meeting with Uncle Dean. He is the executive producer of Living 808, and he is the sweetest dude ever now. But we went in and we basically were telling him about what we're doing, and they said, hey, we want to get involved. We want to help out with this. And that's what we did. So now we're collaborating and I have a segment on their show. After that, we started scheduling different interviews with youth. So we started off with singers, dancers, and now we have like magicians coming in, all youth that we scouted ourselves. But yeah, we just do this to get them more exposure. We've done at least probably 25 episodes. Due to COVID, we are on a hiatus, so we're on a break right now, but we plan on getting started up right after COVID.
Thank you. Okay, so now let's talk about your nonprofit projects. Many of them relate to the environment. Why did you choose the environment?
Okay, so originally it started off because growing up in Hawaii, I have always been super close to my environment and to the animals, and I grew up around a bunch of animals. As you said, I have 18 pets. We went to the beach one day and I saw an entangled turtle, and we went and we helped it. But I noticed, this is at the age of like 6, I noticed that there were so many issues in the world happening, and I really just wanted to change that. And so I started my own organizations, and eventually we laced them all together. So now I have organizations that help with plastic pollution, animal rehabilitation and adopting animals out, helping with the animals of the homeless that are here in Hawaii, and just things like that.
So can you tell us about your projects?
Absolutely. So I have one big organization called the Catalyst Club, and that's an umbrella organization. The Catalyst Club, our mission is to provide opportunities for youth to be a catalyst for change and create change in their communities and eventually around the world. I have 3 organizations under this, one of which is the Love is a Verb Foundation. And then we also have Promise to Our Keiki, where we put bills in at our legislature to create change statewide and just make a bigger impact overall. The Love is a Verb Foundation has organizations under it. So I partner up, this is the one where I give volunteer opportunities to youth. I partner up with over 30 organizations, and I also created my own. So when the when the kids are trained up and can volunteer for other organizations, they go and they volunteer for those organizations. And when they want to help out and help run organizations, they come to mine.
Wow, that's amazing. So I read that your plastics project is responsible for removing several tons of plastic from the Hawaii beaches. That's a huge accomplishment. How did you do that?
I originally started when I was 8, like you said, and I was doing cleanups with a bunch of other organizations. We were removing a bunch of plastic also, but I wanted to take this matter into my own hands and educate youth. So I have been with the plastics project educating youth on the big festivals like Spam Jam. We educate over like 50,000 youth, I'd say. And then we also do yearly youth run beach cleanups. So I think the last beach cleanup that we had was at Malai Kahana. We were able to have maybe like 15 kids, and we removed 500 pounds of plastic. But this is just with 15 kids, a small group of kids. So eventually we want to do it at a bigger scale. We are taking a little bit of a break because of COVID. We don't want big gatherings. We want to keep everybody safe. But we will have a community cleanup. We don't just do beaches. We will have a community cleanup in Kaka'ako, so around where my mom works, kind of just to get more youth involved.
Thank you. So how did you get the word out to people to help you? Which strategies work best, and why do you think so?
I was taught from a very young age to network with people. Everywhere that I go, I love networking. And through these networks and making connections with other people, I am able to get my social media posts shared a lot. So I have connections to 808 Viral, Mean Hawaii, Hungry Hawaiian, and people like that. And I'm so grateful because if I need them to share something, they will share it. But yeah, I would say just network a lot. I don't have that big of a following on social media, but I know they do. So yeah, just network, get the word around. We have done things where we walk around and we give flyers out to people, and that works too. But nowadays, I think it's more so social media based.
Thank you. So after all of your work, I'm sure that you want to keep your successes going, but you don't want to have to keep cleaning the beaches yourself. So what are you doing about that?
From a really young age, I was taught to go to the root of the problem and fix the root of the problem instead of having to fix the aftermath of the issues. So Hawaii, actually, I'm so proud of this. We got our plastic phase out, which is like a plastic ban, passed through the legislature. So Oahu is currently doing a statewide phase out. So places like Starbucks, Jack in the Box, McDonald's, they're all using bamboo utensils and paper straws. So this is really, really small changes that eventually are going to make a really big impact.
So your plastic project is one of the several projects that fall under the organization called the Catalyst Club. Can you tell us more about the other projects? Which one came first?
Okay, so I have a bunch of projects under the Catalyst Club or the Love is a Verb Foundation. The first project that I created was the hashtag Speak Up movement, where we advocate for animals. We've gone into the legislature, and we've spoken to them about making more strict animal cruelty laws. But we also do giant homeless sweeps. We help take animals from there if needed, so that they can go get medical attention, go stay in shelters if they need. But I think the first thing that came was the hashtag Speak Up movement. And then going back into with animals, I kind of figured out that in the ocean, there's a lot of plastic. So I kind of tied them together just a little bit. So plastic pollution and how it's affecting animals. And then I got super, super tied into plastic pollution. And then from there, at the age of, I think it was 9 or 10, one of my friends actually passed away from a rare type of cancer. So the next organization that I created was Alohi Strong, which is my organization that goes into the hospitals and really just helps those who have special needs or special medical needs. And so that was the organization that I created in honor of her legacy. And then from there, I think we just kept going. We have Heart for Hawaii, where we go out to the homeless and shelters, and we go and give them food. We serve them food for like Thanksgiving, Christmas. Like I said, we have the Love is a Verb Foundation, and under this is all the other organizations, and this is where we train up the youth to volunteer. yeah, that's what we do. And then we have the Secret Santa Project Hawaii. We provide a whole full-on Christmas experience for youth in the low-income housing like KPT, or even the houseless shelters or kids on the street. We provide a whole full-on Christmas experience. So we bring presents personalized to what they want. We give them wish lists and then they give that back to us. We do a bunch of fun games. We do icebreakers. I think one time we did Chubby Bunny, and that was super fun. We have shave ice trucks that come. And yeah, for the most part, we just provide a full-on Christmas experience. And then Promise to our Keiki. Originally, this started as a bill. We wanted to educate the people, the tourists that are coming into Hawaii before they come here. So they stop doing things like littering or hurting our sea creatures that are endangered and native to Hawaii. And then eventually that turned into an organization. So now what me and my friend Leah, who started this organization with me, what we want to do is we want to travel the world and teach kids about how to submit bills and just the whole entire legislative process.
Thank you. One other project you are helping with caught my attention, Time to Change. Can you tell us about this?
Sure. So Time to Change is an organization that actually started under Mogul in the Making, which is under the Love is a Verb Foundation. This is started by my friend Alyssa Capelliella. And what she does is she goes into schools and she teaches them that there's two sides of every story. And she also teaches them that if you're being bullied, that is kind of a reflection of what's going on internally in their heart. And they're just bouncing it onto you, reflecting it onto you. But she teaches youth about bullying.
You're really inspiring. As I listen to you, I see that all of your projects seem to involve empowering kids, helping them take their passions and turn them into action. How do you help kids believe that they can make a change when so often adults don't feel like they can?
I think it's all about changing stereotypes. Youth are often looked down on because of their age. If you can imagine 8-year-old me, I was like itty bitty. I was like 4'2". I was really small, and I was constantly looked down on. So I kind of had to pave my own path. I see that a lot of cities and states are changing and they're saying, hey, these kids can do this too. They're evolving a lot quicker than we did. But a big thing that I made sure to do when I send youth out to volunteer, because they are going to be our next leaders, is make sure that they're passionate about what they're doing, and we train them to go and volunteer.
Thank you. So once you started the project, who trains the kids and how does that work?
Okay, so I have project leaders for everything. Obviously, I overlook everything, but I do have project leaders. And then going as far as like organization wise under Love is a Verb, like a hashtag Speak Up movement, the Plastics Project, I have been training them up for that. And we kind of train them through experience. We have them go out and volunteer with different organizations locally, depending on what they're trained in and how good they are in that. After they are trained to volunteer, we go ahead and we send them out to other organizations. Of course, I'm usually there to overlook and tell them what to do. When they're trained up a little more, they can start going to their own organization or volunteer work by themselves. And then eventually I train them up to either create their own businesses. This is under Mobile in the Making, to create their own businesses or nonprofits. And then they eventually branch off to their own when they get their own 501c3. Yeah, and then before they create their own nonprofits or businesses, we have them run one of mine, just so they get the hang of it.
So you seem to be super interested in helping to develop other young leaders. How do you go about that, and what strategies seem to work best?
Yeah, connecting to the kids is very, very important, especially when you need to do something like hold their attention span and teach them things. Connecting to them on a personal level is super important. At a young age, I was taught that youth are going to be the leaders, which obviously is true. Yeah, and that's where I think my love for training up other youth started.
That's amazing. So tell us more about your legislative advocacy. In our microsociety schools, we have legislators where kids can submit bills to make change in their societies, but you're talking about the legislator in the world outside of school. What made you go that route?
I have worked a lot in the legislature since the age of, I'd say 9-ish. I have done all kinds of things from animal advocacy in the legislature to submitting my own bills, working on other bills. But on behalf of like me submitting my own bills, I have learned it's really, really difficult to do, but if you get it passed, it's super, super important.
So let's talk about the legislation you are trying to get passed. How did you learn about writing legislation and how did it all begin?
I went in and I spoke to every single legislator, senator, and representative individually in their offices. I did that in person, but now I've been doing a bunch of Zoom meetings. And that really helped us a lot because when we sent them emails, they remembered us, things like that. Our first time we went with Representative Psyche, Representative Scott Psyche, who is the Speaker of the House. And that was really, really helpful. Unfortunately, that bill was killed the first time. And then we submitted it during city and county. It was really difficult the second time to get a hearing. So we had a bunch of support, a bunch of people emailing the representatives and senators to, hey, schedule a hearing for this bill. At first, it was super difficult. And then when they finally understood that this is important, this is what people care about, they supported it a lot more. Yeah.
So wanting to make a change can obviously be really frustrating. How do you avoid feeling defeated?
I'm going to be completely transparent. There's been a lot of times where my bill has been killed and I went home and I was like super upset about it. I was super sad about it. But then we just kept going with it. I think there was a bill that I'm working on now. The plastic ban took at least 3 years to pass. Just keep persisting. It will knock you down a bunch. And it's okay to be sad about it, your bill being killed or about your bill not passing and going all the way through. But just keep trying over and over again.
That's really important. What will you do differently this next time?
Okay, so a thing I would do differently next time when I submit another bill would be I definitely want to set more meetings with our representatives and senators because I think a lot of the reason why people didn't fully not understand, but didn't fully accept it and like it, and it didn't pass is because not a lot of people understood it. It was super, super complicated because the bill that I was submitting and the issue was complicated. But I'd say really just go and meet with everybody, make sure it's super clear and straightforward when you tell them what you're doing.
How do you go about developing partnerships with adult organizations? How do you get them to take you seriously?
At first, nobody took me seriously. Everybody has a mentality that they don't want to babysit a bunch of kids. Their parents are going to drop them off. Oh no, the light turned off. The parents are going to drop them off and they're kind of just going to be stuck babysitting these kids, right? So I had to pave my own path through that. And with that, I have a lot of contacts with organizations now. Once again, I think adults are starting to take youth a lot more seriously because we are starting to make a lot of change. If you look at like Greta Thunberg and a bunch of the youth leaders around the world. But for the most part, at first, they didn't take me seriously. And I kind of had to be, once again, really persistent with, no, but if you look at this and I can do this too, and all of that. It was difficult at the beginning and now it's a lot easier.
That's amazing. To be successful with these projects, it must be expensive. How do you raise the money?
Okay, I have a few businesses and I have a few businesses that I'm starting up right now. I also have a few, I like to call them hobbies, but they're also jobs. So like you mentioned earlier, I do acting. So I've been in things like Hawaii 5-0 and a few local commercials that's currently going around the island. But that is one of the ways that I make money to fund my organizations. Recently, I have been getting a lot of grants from a bunch of other organizations like Blue Zones. We just got a grant for them to get new supplies for a bunch of our cleanups. And then I've been applying for a bunch of awards. So there's a bunch of ways you can get different funding if you're not a 501c3 organization. I'm currently not a 501c3 organization. You're still filing and making our board of directors because I want to make it super specific. But yeah, I have a few businesses. When I was 8, I started a business to make necklaces. And then with the money that I made from making necklaces and selling those, I designed my own dresses. And then extra money now goes back to my organizations. Yeah, for the most part, that's what I do to fund my organizations.
Wow, I can tell you work really hard. Do you write proposals yourself?
I do. I have a lot of adult mentors. I have one of my aunties, her name is Shasta. She has been so helpful and she's been with me from the start. She helps me write proposals. And then I have my mom. For the most part, I do it, but then it is super, super helpful to have guidance from them too.
How did you learn how to write a proposal?
Um, I I took a look at a bunch of different organizations' proposals for grants and just things like that. YouTube helped, Google helped a lot. But for the most part, I looked at local organizations and how they wrote their proposals. And then I went off of that and kind of formed it and molded it to my organizations.
That's great. So before we close, do you have any advice for adults out there to help them listen to young people in the way that your family listens to you?
I would say whatever ideas your kid has, really just take them seriously. If they have a really, really good idea, listen to them because kids are like geniuses. And a lot of the reason why people don't notice this is because they just dismiss it, right? But yeah.
You are such a micro kid at heart. The way that you take initiative, take action, and take leadership. I hope that our organization can work with you in the future. Thank you for allowing me to interview you and being such a great role model. Before we sign off, I want to note that we learned about Rylee from Action for Nature. It's an international nonprofit supporting and honoring young environmental activists. Rylee was an EcoHero of the Week and won first place for the year in 2020. To learn more about Action for Nature, check out their website and Facebook page. Also, thanks to all of you for joining us today. Remember, if you have a youth activist in your microsociety school who you would like to appear on our show, please send your nominations to us at bettertogether@microsociety.org. Thank you again, and we will see you next time.